Five, four, three, two, one, and we are live. Whenever you are, wherever you are. Thanks for joining the Design of Everyday Live podcast. I've been calling it a live event or live stream, but I think live podcast is probably the best way to communicate it so people don't get confused. Like, what is it? Event, stream, podcast? Let's just call it a podcast where I talk to senior designers from all over the world and where you literally get to ask them anything. So stick around. Ooh, sorry. Yeah, so stick around to the end and to get your questions answered. But of course, as you listen to the conversation that I'm about to have, please drop your questions in and we will try and address as many as we can. But first, let's start by making this session interactive. Where are you guys tuning in from? Is it the US? Is it India? Is it Vietnam? Wherever in the world, just so we know that you are on the other side of this screen. So drop an emoji or a comment in it. And while you do that, I always forget to do this, but I'm going to play this funky intro I have for you guys. So let's start the podcast. This is the design of everyday people. This is the design of everyday people.
It sound right, boy.
Okay, it seems like we have a stream of people. I haven't used this feature before, but we have folks from India, Sweden, Argentina, the UK. Just a lot of folks tuning in. Appreciate y'all. So some more coming in. I can't show all of you, but very, very cool that everybody is everywhere in the world. We have someone from Germany as well. Okay, brilliant. Cool. So we're not just speaking into the void. Romania. There we go. Great. Okay, let me hide that for a sec. But yeah, just keep on dropping that in. And I just want to welcome you guys to this podcast, How to Create a Unique Portfolio. And like always, it's a Ask Me Anything. So let's start with quick introductions and I'll go first. I am Chris, the founder of UX Playbook. But before that, a self-taught struggling UX designer. And now I spend most of my time helping designers navigate a fuzzy career in UX with UX Playbook, if you don't know, from building your first portfolio to leading your first design team. But that's enough about me. To bring on someone to talk about this subject, very happy that I'm joined by Aneta today, a creator, a design educator, and founder of Be Your Own Design Team. So let's bring her out and find out how she's doing. Hi, Netta. How's it going?
Hello, I'm doing good. How about you?
I'm doing really, really well. And for the audience that weren't on this call before, Aneta was like, chilling, very casual. And I was the one that was like, Aneta, I need to put a hat on now. Now you have a hat on. I need a hat on. So that was a funny moment we had before this pod. But for the audience that don't know you, Aneta, could you tell them a bit about yourself?
Absolutely. I'm Aneta, creator of the Be Your Own Design Team community, but also mainly the UX portfolio course that was launched 1 month ago. I'm also a designer right now, freelance designer. Came to UX design from architecture 7 years ago, I think already. And yeah, I am talking about portfolios because I really like this topic. If you've been observing me online, you probably have noticed this already. But if not, I spent a lot of time on reviewing portfolios, analyzing them, and researching this topic and talking about this with a lot of people from the industry. So super excited to talk about portfolios today and waiting for some juicy questions.
Yes, we love our juicy questions. So why don't I kick this off? But before that, again, just want to remind folks those juicy questions Drop them in the comments as things come up. And to start this conversation, I actually wrote this in the event description, and you guys might think I'm joking or over exaggerating, but the first line read, I fell asleep during a portfolio review. That almost happened to me. Okay. I probably didn't fall flat asleep. I was not in the REM sleep, but I was definitely, you know, 80% about to knock off. And it was because the portfolio I was reviewing, what I wanted to see from it was like, this designer was a great fit. You know, their work blew my mind. It's an instant hire. I literally have no feedback. But instead, what I found was this project is pretty hard to comprehend. You know, I
Mm.
had more questions than answers, and they made really obvious, in my opinion, mistakes and sort of
Mm.
little mistakes that, you know, a senior designer, in my opinion, does not make, right? So you do not want your portfolio to be a bedtime story, right? That is not the intended goal. So that's why I've invited Aneta on, because she spent, you know, close to a year building the portfolio course, uxportfolio.co. So perfect person to sort of dive into this topic with, especially with all the research and all the stuff that she's been doing. So the I think maybe we should kick it off with the following. How does one approach their portfolio? And I'm talking here more from the perspective of mindset. How do you
Mm.
think someone should?
Yeah. Very good question. The first module in my course, by the way, mindset. I think it's a very broad question because it all depends on what type of mental models you have right now when it comes to the portfolio creation, planning your career, I don't know, figuring out your next job and general. So I think this is the first one. A few maybe myths or misconceptions that are around. Sometimes, for instance, people think that I don't know, that the portfolio, this is at least what we maybe see when we review portfolios, that the portfolio is about collecting your past achievements, kind of a bit of reporting on your experiences and skills. And people forget that this is actually the tool to inform your future, right? That you need to communicate specific value that you can deliver to this specific team or role, so that hiring manager can get their questions answered. This is what, right, you highlighted about questions. So usually when we review portfolios, we have specific questions when there is a specific role. We have some, I don't know, okay, is this designer, I don't know, does this designer have experience in this, and so on and so on. So this is what we want to see. And sometimes, for instance, designers copy paste some, I don't know, artifacts or project descriptions from raw files, and this is not how you tell a story, right? Both the written story and your artifacts play very key role in your portfolio. Basically, every detail can make it or break it. I think this is the big one, but there are a lot of different things about mindset, definitely. Like also that this is an ongoing project, that there are iterations, that uh, why every hiring manager has a different opinion, because they are users as well, right? And a lot of different things as well. But I think this future, thinking about the future and that this is an iteration, I think these are the two maybe first things, and that you also need to strategize this like portfolio a bit. Like you need to think about your whole profile, and not just create like any portfolio from anything from your past, like you're throwing everything there and you're just not thinking intentionally what type of an impression it creates.
Got it. So there was a couple of points that I really liked, which is that you said thinking about it like an iterative process, that,
Mm,
you know, it's not going to be final or done. It's just like,
no.
hey, can I put this thing together first? And then the other is that, you know, all hiring managers are different and they are
Mm,
your users. And I think to sum that up, and if I get this wrong, let me know. But to sum
Yeah,
that up,
yeah,
it's kind of like building any product or designing
yeah,
any product out there, right? Where you're
yeah,
saying, okay, well, the first version is probably not going to be the best. How do I learn from it? And then, but a step before that is like, well, who am I designing this for? Right?
mm, yeah,
And like, is it a person in this industry? How much do they know about design? Is it an agency, a consultancy? Is it a startup? Is it a Fortune 500? All of those questions can then help you narrow down your approach. But I think that product building mindset is such a healthy one, because and then you start to put your UX brain on versus being so attached to your work, because it's your
yeah,
portfolio. It's probably the most
yeah. It's
personal
very
thing in
emotional.
the world.
Mm.
Super emotional.
Yeah, it's super emotional, very normal. I
Yeah,
feel the
absolutely.
same.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely, absolutely, right?
Yeah, I think we all forget that when we approach portfolio, maybe I'm not so sure, but this is just based on my observations. Sometimes I feel like everyone wants the best for themselves, right? They want best. We all want our, I don't know, best job, high salary, full package of benefits, and friendly colleagues, a coach as your manager, and so on and so forth, right? So when we approach portfolio, I think we are getting stressed because we care, right? We care to make it good. We and but we get lost as well. And I think that maybe sometimes people think in the same way like we were thinking at school, like that this is a test, that this is like a template, a process, like when you see, for instance, the double diamond storytelling in portfolios. I feel like people think that, okay, when I will show this process, they will see that I know. Or for instance, once I remember someone told me, Aneta, I want to show all of this because I want to be on the safe side. Whereas there's like no safe side, because it's really depends, right? Because this is always also often the first impression, that something that maybe catches your attention if like the baseline, the fundamentals are there, but it's very hard to define the safe side. And it's definitely not the safe side is definitely not showing everything when we optimize for time to value, for making this readable and clear for hiring managers in a short time.
I love that. Time to value. That's the key word, isn't it? It's time
Yeah.
to value. Like with everything. It's so good. Because yeah, if we can frame our portfolio, or even a lot of things that we do, whether it's communication, whether it's delivering value, what is the time to value, or how short is that? I think that's such a good framing. So I guess the next logical question for me is like, okay, let's say you have this kind of open mind and a good mindset going in,
Yeah.
like you kind of know who you're targeting and you're like, okay, it's iterative. I just need to get something on paper. It's not going to be everything. It's just going to be, a good
Mm.
starting point. Then how do we think about positioning?
Yeah, very good question. Also, I have a full module about this. I have a specific framework for this. So because first of all, you need to know to get to know yourself. So you need to build some sort of self-awareness, like what you have done, what were your experiences, what type of skills you have. Then you need to exactly analyze what skills you have right now, like what those past experiences, what type of skills they gave you, what type of, I don't know, superpowers. Maybe you are, I don't know, you have experience more from a specific industry, specific domain. Maybe you were involved mostly in some craft work. All of those stuff, you need to know where you are. It's like approaching a design project as a UX designer. So first of all, you kind of need to get present, right? Okay, this is what users are saying. This is how the situation looks like. This is how competitors are creating their product. This is how our product looks like. You need to do the same with yourself, as well as, of course, get an overview of what's happening on the market. Because, for instance, doing benchmarking, sometimes people go crazy about benchmarking as well, like getting like jealous of of portfolios of every designer all over the world. It's not necessary. I mean, you can get closer just to your direct competitors and like check them. So this is what you do. You competitors, what are the users' needs, hiring managers, or maybe, I don't know, your potential clients, if you want to apply to like a freelancer, it's a different positioning. And then you try to paint your designer profile, kind of connecting the dots from all those information. I would say even doing some sort of, the affinity mapping, like trying to find the patterns about yourself, but also, of course, considering, okay, so where I want to apply next, like which is my ideal next position, like maybe even pick some job description somewhere or specific company so that your profile can get more specific, because sometimes we end up with those generic statements like, I love to solve problems, or I don't know, I am a product designer with this years of experience solving any possible problem, love pushing pixel, blah blah blah. It's, if hiring managers would see this type of description like hundreds of times, it's like very hard to stand out, right? That's why a lot of times we recommend finding your own voice, finding your own domain, maybe like getting specific and deciding what you really want to highlight in your elevator pitch.
Oh, I disappeared.
Yeah,
Oh,
you
that's
disappeared.
it. There we go. Okay. Yeah, that's pretty cool. How do you? So I think the best way for the audience to kind of get it is like, how would you walk? I guess a junior through this. Let's just say I'm a junior UX designer. I have like 2 years of experience, kind of figuring out my next role.
Mhm.
Then what sort of advice do you have for me to position myself? Because I can't really, maybe I can't go deep depth like into one
Hmm.
industry. Like, what do I do from there? Any advice?
Yeah, I think for someone who's just starting out in the industry or has very few years of experience, it's even more important to get specific, because it's like if you tell me that you can do all of this, I'm not so sure if I would believe you. If you don't have a lot of experience, you can also base your selection on your passion, like where you are leaning toward, or also based on maybe if you have done some projects already. This is also something to consider, like this is a trade-off, like am I trying to find something that fits to those projects that I've already done, I don't know, at school, a UX bootcamp, or maybe some, I don't know, freelance gigs, and take it from there? Or do I have time, energy to create something else, because maybe I will actually highlight something else because those projects were just for learning UX, and right now I actually want to, I don't know, go to B2C or B2B, whatever. So if you, for instance, write B2B and you're not showing any B2B projects, then it's a question, can you do it or not? Like how much time will we need to, for you to get on board to this, problem area, and so on. So this is probably the first one. The second is probably, thinking about your passions, and maybe the third one also about the market needs. So many times when you start, it's about the craft, right? So if you're new, usually like, okay, we need a person to like, first of all, get to know, like, the Figma, how to draw, how to, push pixels basically, or maybe help with design systems sometimes even. So I think the visual part is also pretty key. Even if you're not going to highlight this, it will be judged, right? Because we all can see. So this would be good to have it. And of course, if you're passionate about this, it's easier to highlight this. If not, it's okay. And another thing, transferable skills, if you're coming from another industry. I don't know, for instance, I came from architecture, and some things that I was highlighting was definitely stakeholders management, complex problems, this type of stuff. But you need to be very intentional and not just like throw those labels and keywords all over your portfolio, because we will see that it is not intentional. So you need to be intentional when you write stakeholders management. Okay, what do you mean? How you are going to show it in your portfolio if you're highlighting this, for instance, in your elevator pitch. So I think intentionally, don't be also afraid to experiment. I don't know, for a while you will be highlighting this, showing this project. In the meantime, you will do another project and you can change, because sometimes people are afraid that's why they end up with those generic statements, because they don't know what they like when they start. But it's not like you are marrying, this portfolio and this elevator pitch in your designer profile forever. You can change. So this is, I think, something good to know.
Yeah. Just quickly, Leonard asked, will this be recorded? Yes, it's recorded. It's on LinkedIn or YouTube. There's a link somewhere. I will paste it and send it to the folks. So it will be recorded. Okay. So let's talk about, I think, one of the things that designers, I think, struggle with their portfolio. Okay. Let's just say they have a great mindset. They're like, okay, I know this is how I need to approach it. Then I'm like, okay, kind of know what I'm good at or what I like, and I'm leaning into that. So that's my positioning.
Mm-hmm.
Then the final thing that they struggle with is like, well, how do I push myself out there? How do I sell it? How do I market this within the portfolio and beyond? So, any tips and advice here, Aneta?
I love this question. In a portfolio itself, I think it's first of all, you need to act as a designer, as a business owner. I think I even created some memes about this. Like, you need to be the boss of your portfolio, basically. So you decide, you make the final decision. You can go around, ask people questions like designers, hiring managers. They can give you feedback, but it's on you to decide what to show. And what you are showing is actually also the first way to sell yourself, right? Like, how do you communicate your value, right? Whether you are trying to just nail down what you have done and show that you know the process, or maybe if you are going to actually tell us a story and try to show us your achievements, what value you can bring to the team, to the company, how what are your skills, how you can use those skills and help us grow as a business. So I think those storytelling, and this is the first thing, and actually making your portfolio, I don't know, like designing this for a hiring manager is the first, I think, step to sell it, because then they will see it, that you have put the work and that you have thought about them, right? Okay, I can clearly see what you have done. I understand everything. Everything is clear. I can quickly scan it. This is the first thing that we can actually, evaluate very quickly. When it comes to something outside of a portfolio website, PDF per se, there are a lot of different things you can do, because of course you can create the portfolio, but if you're not, I don't know, applying, reaching out proactively or doing something, getting a job or a freelance gig, it still won't be possible. It's like a whole process in this, if you are going for a full-time job, for instance. Some people, for instance, make some posts on social media. I have a lot of examples in the course about this. I'm not so sure if this works for them, but this is some sort of exposition, like putting yourself out there, and people usually support those type of posts. At least I do, because I am always pretty impressed how creative people get with those carousel posts about their portfolio profiles and everything, which is super cool to see. I forgot about one thing actually in a portfolio. It's also about how unique your portfolio is when it comes to, I don't know, format, maybe some videos, interactions, like making something different than others are doing. I don't know, maybe not starting your portfolio story from a project summary, or maybe something else. You know what I mean? Sometimes like questioning the status quo is pretty cool. an example, not saying the good one, but I just saw it, brought my attention because I saw it on LinkedIn one day. Someone created a portfolio that was based on a chat conversation, like an AI chat. So you could ask questions about this person. Because the guy posted this, everyone, I think, started checking this out. So the chat didn't work at this moment when I was checking this, but I clicked on this, I saw it because I was like, wow, that's so creative. Even though I don't know if I would be able to find time to ask questions and talk with this chat. I like that this person had the courage to try and questioned how the portfolio looks like. So I think with this mindset, you can also do a lot within the portfolio. And then, yes, networking, how you send your portfolio, how you pitch it, where it's available. I don't know. For instance, you need to have it in a resume if you apply from some, right? Some basic stuff, even. If you're going to create a PDF format portfolio, also make sure it's available, right? If you are using some sort of, I don't know, password protection, also think twice if they have time to, I don't know, find this, if they can find the password, if they are willing to put this password in your portfolio, considering the amount of applications they're getting. Yeah, think about the whole journey that hiring managers can have with your portfolio and where they are when they can be like on LinkedIn, for instance, right? To promote yourself, to sneak peek your portfolio, or maybe send even some direct messages. It's a whole story how to do it.
So good, so good. I mean, I think folks need to like stop the video and then rewind it and then just play it again and like slow it
Sorry,
down.
I am so overwhelming today.
No, it's actually really good because obviously you've spent a lot of time thinking about this, structure your whole course as well. So it's like you just have so much to give. It's
Yeah,
hard to it's hard to just do it in one breath, right? So
yeah.
so that makes sense that it's just coming out now. It's like you were stuck in a room for like a year and then jumped on this and you're like, okay guys, portfolio time, let's go. So that's good. um, okay, we have so many questions. Usually I would keep on going in terms of like
Yeah,
diving into more of what you said. But I think maybe the most practical way is we just try to go to the questions, and a
yeah.
lot of the stuff might be repetitive or whatever, but we can help folks address that. But before I do that, is there anything around portfolios, around how you position it, how you approach it, how you sell it, anything else that you think that you need to kind of tell the folks out there who are working on their portfolio now, and then we can move to questions.
Don't ask me so broad questions.
Okay.
No, I will tell something. No worries. Wait. There are a lot of different things, but I think this mindset about being your own boss is the first one as well. Like thinking that okay, you decide. It's really because sometimes people go into this corner of like decision paralysis. Like think, okay, which opinions should I take into consideration? What should I do next? Um, be brave enough to own your portfolio like a UX project. If you want to be a senior or you are a senior, you know how it is. You are taking the responsibility and you are deciding whether, I don't know, you will be sending this type of format or you will not do this because of time constraints or something else. So it's okay. You just need to be aware why you are doing this right now or what you will do next and so on. All the iterative process we mentioned, thinking about your users, designing for them, and selling yourself, picking, prioritizing what you want to share, because you don't need to share everything. And also sometimes it's not also not every information has the same value. Like what you want to highlight, you also need to decide intentionally, because you can tell you can share the same stuff in a different way. Like the story can be different, and it's on you to decide on this. So be very intentional. And yeah, don't be afraid to share your work. I think sometimes we are super stressed about this because we feel that we'll be judged. And yeah, you will be judged, but we are all judged. You are probably judging us right now. So it's normal. You just need to like handle this. And to be honest, the more you will expose yourself out there, the more familiar you become with the feedback and like, everything like this. So yeah, keep going.
Yeah, exactly. Great. And before we jump into the sort of river of questions that are getting
Yeah, I'm
fired at
looking.
us, I just want to quickly say if you enjoyed things like this, then don't miss the next pod, right? Scan that QR code either up here or next to Aneta.
Right, I
And
will do it.
does
How does it
does it
work?
work? And yeah, we do these twice a month, sometimes more. And yeah, it's kind of
Yeah,
like
it
this very
works.
casual. Oh yeah, there you go. There you go. It's better on desktop, but if it is what it is. But if you like stuff like this, we do these again twice a month, sometimes more, where we get senior designers like Aneta on the program, and we can ask them anything, which we're about to dive into. So let's go
Mhm.
into that. The first question, I'm just going to go chronological because this is
Okay.
how it works. First question on YouTube. What should I add into the portfolio and how to showcase projects? Again, it's quite broad. So I don't know if you want to quickfire
Oh,
this one.
yeah, I will. Of course, I love all questions. I was just laughing. I think maybe we answered to this question, to be honest, during our conversation so far, but I will just repeat. For the first part of your question, what should you add? It's on you to decide what type of information from your skills, past experiences, whatever, will sell your designer profile to this selected, I don't know, company, to this, I don't know, select a few companies, domain, industry, hiring, whatever. So this is the first one. So you are looking to find match in a sense. This is how, like, on Tinder you swipe. I don't know, I have never used Tinder, but but you,
But I
yeah,
heard
you
you
swipe.
swipe, right? I heard you
Yeah,
swipe.
yeah, but where's my husband? At work. Okay. Anyway, so it's basically we look for relevant stuff, and to be honest, it's sometimes it's even sad to hear those stories about. I even experienced this myself in my career a few times, where sometimes some hiring managers might need or want to look for designers with literally the same experience. I It's really varies, you can't predict this, but you want to show that you are relevant with your experience, that you maybe have worked in the similar industry or maybe in a similar problem area, or I don't know, if you were in a different industry, how you can find these overlapping moments, experiences. So this is how you want to decide on the content, and you also want to think about how it's organized in whatever portfolio format you will pick. Because if you pick the PDF, it can be a bit different than, I don't know, a presentation or a website, and how you will lay down the website. So then you think like a designer, right? This is the hierarchy where the users land, where is the least possible moment where they can see the information. So you try to show the key important things that sell you the most first, right? And when it comes to the second part of your question, how to showcase projects, I think the one core answer to this is that you need to tell a story. You need to pick what type of problem you want to talk about and what type of design changes you want to talk about. I usually recommend designers to, if they are creating a case study, because it's not like you have to. There are different portfolio project stories that you can have, not only case studies. But if you go for a case study, I usually recommend people to use some sort of like 3 arc story structure with a clear problem, some design changes that you made, and I call it retrospective, like in product development. Like you basically not think just about, because people sometimes get obsessed about numbers, and many of us actually don't have it, and it's actually fine. It's more about like intentionally showing that you know which areas you impacted, what were your achievements in, because this is not only about products. Sometimes you can also think about other stuff, and connecting this, of course, with your selected job, future position that you have defined and your designer profile in a nutshell.
Amazing. Smashed it out the park. Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Okay, another one we have here, which is, my question is, what's a great platform to create your portfolio on, and how many pieces of work should I show?
Mm-hmm. Can I be honest?
Please, that's why we're here. Yes.
Now we are not talking corporate language, guys. This is my Polish personality. I don't like this question. The first one about the platform, and I will tell you why. Because mm, platform is not the most important question in this process. To be honest, the biggest problems that I've seen was about the story, the prioritization, the clear communication. The platforms also, depending also how you will shape the portfolio. Maybe one platform could be easier for you to use than another. I don't know, for instance, if you create a PDF, or a landing page, or or maybe you will go for selecting a template, and you pick one, platform A, and then on platform B maybe you might find a better template that would fit better to your profile and the way how you want to showcase your stories and your designer profile. But of course, I understand this question as well. So I was a bit joking with this, that I don't like this question. But I just wanted to reverse the question, that we need to think about those things first. It's not only the tool, but I know that it also determines some stuff, like how easy it is to start with this. For instance, if you have never done any web design work with no code tool, okay, the question is, okay, do I have time to learn the tool, to spend time and figure out those small challenges? Because even if you pick the best, the easiest website platform that exists, you will still have some challenges, smaller or bigger. It's just like this, right? Because you are using the tool for the first time, so you need to get familiar with the interface. You also need to learn, okay, how do I lay out my website? Because I have never done a website before, for instance, right? So I would think about those things. When it comes to the concrete recommendation, I used for my portfolio course website Framer. It was very easy to start with, very flat learning curve initially. So, and they also have a lot of templates, but I'm not so sure if this is the best for you. As I told you, it all also depends on the constraints, because for instance, if you don't have those web design skills and you want to apply tomorrow, then I would think, okay, maybe PDF would be a quicker option. I used PDF a lot of times in my career. Yeah, it can work as well. Chris, you want to add something?
No, I think you're right. I think it's easy to obsess over tools, and I just want to show this one real quick because it calls out specific tools that you mentioned, like Framer, Webflow, or Squarespace. Do recruiters judge this? I don't think they do. I don't even know if recruiters can tell between these sort of web builders. Maybe your design manager can tell, but I would focus not on picking the tool first, but
Yeah.
writing the content first. And you can figure out that tool question later. Because it's just another constraint that you have to kind of be wary of, but maybe not when you're just kind of vomiting words onto a page.
Yeah.
Right?
And when because portfolio consists of specific skills. Like learning storytelling, oh Jesus, I still haven't nailed it. It's like visual design. If you're missing this, then it's, again, you need to learn this. Web design, right? Visual storytelling, right? Like knowing how to actually show your work in a engaging and compelling way. It's also like a process to learn it and to practice this. So you need to pick your battles, like whether you want to focus on learning and tackling those web design challenges and the tool itself, or whether you want to start with this and, I don't know, send this PDF for a few applications and then in the meantime work on a website version, for instance. And to add to this question and the answer that Chris gave, I also don't think people judge, like hiring managers judge the Framer, Webflow, whatever, but they judge the experience. So if there is a tool and you feel like this tool is doesn't let you create a great experience, or maybe you don't know the tool well and it requires a lot of time to make a good experience from this tool, then it's a sign to exactly maybe rethink a different platform. I know, I've seen and I've even spoken with some hiring managers who might be a bit biased towards PDF and website, but I honestly, I would not like to work for them.
Which one?
Because
The PDF camp or the website camp? You have to tell us now.
both, because it's like you are hired as a UX designer, product designer, right? So it's not like you need to know web design. It's like a totally separate discipline. I know that now businesses want us to do everything, and actually I want to help people for also like expanding their skills, but it's on you to decide and to make this trade-off decision, like, because if you don't have time and you want to apply, so it's better maybe to apply with this PDF format, right? Even, and also you can't predict if someone will be biased towards PDFs or some. You can sometimes see it on LinkedIn, in LinkedIn posts. So when sometimes people say, "Oh, PDF is I don't know, 10 years old or whatever. Who uses this format?" I mean, people use this format. And I use this format quite a few times. So I think not everyone will judge, but there will be some. But this is like a risk you need to take, like I told you, like a boss. I mean, okay, I don't have time, but I want to send my portfolio. I will nail the story. I will nail my visuals and presentation. But because of the time constraint for this application, I will just send a PDF, and we will see.
Yeah. And I think we have to double click on, you have to read the application process
Yeah,
really carefully, because sometimes it'd be like, send a link or send a PDF, upload a PDF, or the way, like, so you, don't get caught up there as well, right? Like if they
yeah,
actually want a PDF. So I think back in the day, I'm not sure if this is still true, but Airbnb, they wanted PDFs. They were just like, no, 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 we want PDFs,
yeah.
right? So don't get caught out. Don't send your website when they want a PDF. Just quickly, going back to the first question, which is, how many pieces of work should you add? Let's address that, because I feel like that is a source of anxiety. Do I need 10? Do I need
Yeah.
3? 1? What do I do?
Yeah, I think it's a very similar question to the one about should I show the whole design process? If what should I do if I don't have research, or what should I do if I don't
Hmm.
have testing insights? Blah blah blah. And I mean, you are not. I mean, for some, maybe, who knows? Some, I know that some can probably check. Okay, I want to see the whole process, or I don't know, 5 pieces of projects because you have 5 years of experience or 10 years of experience. I personally don't agree with this. I think it's also not practical approach to just say, okay, I will create 10 pieces of project stories for my portfolio, because you are chasing this vanity number, and what you need to chase is the quality. And when you will be in this journey, you will build the number of projects naturally when you will add another project from your experience and so on. It's like your portfolio will evolve with your career, and those numbers will be built. Sometimes also, I don't know, people add everything what's possible, and they don't think intentionally about what they show. So make sure to really think twice what you're adding to a portfolio, because not every hiring manager will click on your first project story. Maybe they will click on the second, or maybe the last, and the last will be the worst because you added this just for the quantity. One tip, if I could give you one tip about if you, for instance, have one project, it happens, uh, about building quantity, you can break down the project into a few stories. You can show a snapshot from this project. There's a great portfolio example for this from Marco Cornaccia. I don't know. I think you know, Chris, with these bento boxes.
Hmm.
If you go through the portfolio very deeply, you will see that there are not so many projects there, but the impression is a bit opposite. Because this designer very intentionally and in a very smart way, I think, pull out some juicy parts of the project in a few tiles in a bento box, right? So you can be creative about how you show stuff. Sometimes people think that one work project equals one case study, or I know, one project story. It doesn't need to be like this. And many times when you work in some organizations, like bigger organizations, it's really not the best tip to do because this will be super overwhelming usually. So think about breaking it down and don't focus on this quantity first. First, focus on quality, like which stories show your designer profile and show your value best, where were your biggest achievements, and also which projects are also the most relevant, right, for those positions that you want to apply for.
Yeah. Can I just get you to explain the definition of designer profile in your words? Because I think that's a good, healthy kind of like.
Yes, sorry. It's so designer profile. It's like a label that I use for this positioning. I think this is the word you are using. So how uh, if you, for instance, write your elevator pitch in a portfolio, I want to, as a person or a hiring manager who is reviewing your portfolio, I want to see like a one profile of you as a designer. Like this needs to be clear. I need to know, okay, you are this designer coming from this background with this top skills, for instance, and wanting
Mm.
to do this right now. So designer profile is, I think there was one good article from Tobias. I will not try to pronounce his surname.
I think I know which designer. Yeah, the one that made template. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. The designer who created this one My Mind um,
Yes,
website.
awesome
Well, yeah,
designer. Absolutely
yeah.
awesome. Yeah.
So he wrote an article about designer identity. So I think this is also maybe another translation to what I mean. Basically, you want to show us your current profile identity. It can change, right? Because you will get
Yep.
another experience. You will maybe change your what you want to do. This is I think how you can think about designer profile.
Okay, yeah. I
I,
guess another way to also say it is like your value proposition, right? The one liner, your hero one liner or whatever, something that understands, like encapsulates this designer, but concisely, right?
yeah.
Got it. Okay. We have a question about the structure of a portfolio. Is it good to highlight about you section first or your projects?
Hmm.
What do we prioritize here?
Yeah, I love this question. And I actually maybe can guess where it's coming from because some people sometimes are like, oh, you need to show personality. I want to see your about me page first. But you can show your personality already from the first thing that we can see on your portfolio, like how you style it, what you write about, what types of elements you highlight. You don't necessarily need to just like personality doesn't equal just about me page. This I'm guessing this question is coming from this maybe confusion. If this about you section should go first or projects, um, depending on what you're showing on your about me page as well. But I would say that this that projects are more important in my personal opinion, and the personality can be shown within your portfolio, and on about me page you can add a few more words about something that is interesting about you, because project is actually what the core part of your portfolio. Like I want to see your experience, I want to see if you have tackled a similar problem, I want to see how you have tackled, like I want to see if you're intentional with your decisions, if you can craft something on using like high quality designs or not. So but it also really depends how you will shape about me. For instance, I don't know, I was reviewing a portfolio today and a person was showing career metrics, so some summaries from like a career snapshot from because they have I don't know 10 or more years of experience, so they accumulated a lot of stuff. They could actually show those impressive numbers, and this is what they prioritize as the first below the hero section on the homepage. And then after this there were projects. So there's like, I think there's not good answer for this. I would say that for majority this would be probably projects, and the personality you need to think about showing this throughout the whole portfolio, and then you can decide what you can show on your about me page.
Yeah. And we have one here. Do recruiters care if my projects aren't live, or is process more important? So does the thing that I worked on need to be in the wild or in the app
Mhm.
store,
Shipped.
online. Yeah, shipped. Exactly.
Yeah.
What's your thought here?
Um, Good question. And I also guess where is this coming from? Very dependent on a hiring manager. When I was interviewing some hiring managers for the course, I've had from some that if someone is more senior, uh, they need to have a few projects that were shipped. This is what I've heard from one hiring manager, for instance. But for majority, I think it's not like black and white. I think it's not about because many times when the project is not going live, it's not shipped. It's about different constraints, the business constraints and decisions that you were not were able to impact, right? So you are focusing on what you have done in a project, and you can still show projects that were sunsetted, or even that there were like, I don't know, sunsets in the middle of the process, if you still have a story and achievement that you could share because it was, I don't know, very impactful or maybe interesting as well. So yeah, I think it depends, but majority I wouldn't say it's like a must. And maybe the more senior you are, this might happen. If the process is more important, because this is in the second part of this question, like showing double diamond process or something like this. I guess
No,
this is.
I think you answered the question. I think this
Aha.
person means like, hey, does it need to be
Oh,
chipped, or can I just tell like
yeah,
the thing
yeah,
about
yeah,
the
yeah, yeah,
story about it? Yeah, yeah,
yeah, yeah.
yeah. So another one that came in. How do you figure out what you're good at? Oh, existential question.
Yeah, love it. um, you need to build your self awareness. And there are a variety of ways and exercises to do it. You don't need to find answer just in a design industry. Basically, in self development, you can Google this as well and figure out. But like a designer, so if you want to learn about the user, you need to talk with your users. So right now, you need to talk with yourself maybe first. So maybe you need to ask yourself some questions. I personally, for instance, do, I don't know, weekly reviews. I know Chris does weekly reviews as well. I don't know. I do some journaling from time to time. For instance, when I was actually literally recently revamping my elevator pitch, I was also going back to my brag document with the list of projects and accomplishments. Checking my personality strengths test. This is something you want to look into that as well. Skills mapping is a common exercise. When you are in a mature organization, you might do it. If you are not, you can find those stuff online as well. Rating like, okay, can I prototype? Do I know anything about doing research and so on? So this is how you judge it. Of course, it's very easy to manipulate those answers when you like ask yourself those questions about what is your experience, where I'm good at, can I actually apply to this leadership position with my junior experience. Okay, this was an extreme example, but you need to be honest with yourself, because this is actually better to know yourself, and not only for a portfolio but also for selling yourself in a recruitment process, for, I don't know, introducing yourself, for building your self-confidence as well. Because so yeah, this is how you figure this out. And I think collecting those maybe achievements in some sort of, like, I don't know, we call it brag document, hype document, I don't know, there are a lot of different names to this. Just collecting your achievements. I have my Notion document for this, where I try to note some of my accomplishments. But it can be anything. It can be a Google Doc. It can be, I don't know, a jar with your sticky notes with successes, whatever. It can be anything. And I think this is how you start from it. And when it comes to journaling, I can recommend one app. If you would like to do it on the phone, there is a Day One app. So you can create your own templates, or and do it regularly even on the phone.
That's pretty cool. I think I would add to this with kind of like two things to think about, which is like how do you figure out what you're good at? That's the question, right? I think the first thing is like, what have you spent time doing?
Mm.
That's usually a good place to look. Like if you've done something, X number of times, like you've written class notes and they're pretty damn good and you're pretty fast at doing them, then that's one place that you can figure it out. Basically, what have you spent time on in terms of honing skills? whether it's like in your job at a restaurant, or that's me anyway, right? Or trying to sell door to door, that was also me at one point. Whatever those skills are, like if you've done it a bunch of times, then you can say, okay, well, maybe I'm good at it, or at least I've worked towards being good at it. And then the other
Mm,
part is what you're good at is could also be a place where, yeah, you might not be good at it now, but because you're so interested in it and you're just like fascinated with the thing, you almost kind of lose yourself in doing that task, right? And then it's like, well, you're not good at it now, but you kind of aspire to be good at it. Whether it's kind of like just like messing around on Figma, playing around with icon design, or it could even be like, studying history, right? You don't know
mm,
all the history that of whatever, but eventually you've probably read a bunch of things that give you a pretty good worldview on, whatever civilization that you're studying about. So those are kind of two places where
yeah.
you've existingly spent time, and then uh, where you like to spend time with no other like reward or thing on the back end.
Mm.
Okay, we have another. When thinking about how to present your personal brand, how do you stand out? Things like customer focused and problem solver seem to be generic nowadays.
Yes, that's correct.
I read that so much and I'm just like, oh my God, not again. Yeah.
Yeah, I think exactly. You know the answers. Like, imagine that you are this hiring manager and you get like 100 applications with exactly this statement. Then it's very, very hard for hiring managers to actually quickly select. You are actually making their work more difficult for them when you are actually not clearly communicating your key skills and values. And if you want to do it and stand out, there are a couple of ways, like we were talking about, like figuring out what you're good at. There is this concept. I think I wrote a post about this recently on LinkedIn about the T-shaped designer. Maybe this is the way how you might think about finding this way to stand out, like some core skills that you want to highlight, because right now it seems like majority of us actually cover like the whole design process. Like we probably should know something about research, a bit about design and so on, but what are those elements that make you unique? Like maybe it's coming from your experiences, maybe it's coming from your passions. So maybe you can Google T-shaped designer. Stand out. You can also stand out in a visual way, right? So the first one is the wording and what you tell us, but the second is what you show and how you show it. Like there are some portfolios that are very visual, and you can just see that the person is very high on craft and it's very visual, adding some, I don't know, illustrations or playing with the visual. Then you can clearly see that they don't need to write about this. Of course, the problem is this is actually in a sense easy, right? Because it's very like this is the first thing we judge, and if someone is good at this, it's very easy to shape. But when you don't want to highlight the craft as much, or you're like, okay, you are good at visual design, but maybe not that much to highlight this, then we are going probably lean towards more abstract skills, right? Like research, or so you need to think about how you can visually also present this. Maybe you can show an example, or maybe even, I don't know, maybe also like what type of font you will pick, how you will lay out this. All of those things can lean towards standing out.
I have a framework that basically I stole from the Ikigai, and I've probably said this a bunch of times.
The Venn diagram.
Yes, it's that Venn diagram. Design and skill at the top in that circle, and then what you love to do, your interests, your passions, and then the things you're good at, things you spend time on, and then
Mm,
wherever that intersection is. So imagine you spend 5 minutes brainstorming on each of these circles, and then
mm,
you basically map words together for it to make sense. So I
yeah.
did this myself, and um, I really like working on new ideas. I really like, or at least I think I'm good at working fast. And then what a designer needs is the top circle. Is like, well, designers get paid to ship. So my whole thing, or if I was to position myself and stand out and write that sort of designer profile is like, I work fast to ship MVPs, right? For startups, for example, right? That's just one way to do that. But I think there are a bunch of other ways that you mentioned to help you stand out. It's not maybe just, it's not a one liner. It doesn't have to be. It could be a lot of other ways.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. This one is interesting. So this might be case study based. Is there an information structure you recommend for your portfolio?
Yeah. Probably a question about case studies or project stories in general, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, so my recommendation, I mean, there are different storytelling frameworks. You have probably heard about, I don't know, the Freytag's pyramid or some, I know, hero's journey, all of those stuff. And I've tested many of them with some designers on my coaching sessions, and I feel like from my observation and my own way of creating stories as well, I found the three arc story structure to be the easiest like concept to understand. Mm, Usually recommend for projects to clearly state the problem and then decide on the design changes you want to communicate. There are variety of ways you can present the design changes, from broad to selecting some specific design changes you made and wrapping up with the retrospective. But this is just one way of doing this. I think it's more about that you need to somehow introduce this reader, hiring manager, your users to the topic that they are not familiar with. They weren't in this project with you, so you need to provide them with some context, right? And to this context, I mean, you also need to introduce like, okay, what, like, put the project and the problem area into some context, like which industry, what you did there, and so on. Communicating clearly the problem is a big challenge for many. I usually recommend like highlighting maybe one key problem and focusing on this instead of listing 10 problems that you solve, because it's when you review a portfolio very quickly, it's very hard to figure out, like, pick, okay, so what actually the problem was that you solved. So being very clear about prioritization and design changes is also prioritization. But of course, you can flip the order. I think it's more about thinking, okay, this person doesn't know anything about the project, so how do I introduce this? Or maybe how do I engage this person within my story? Sometimes designers question the status quo and they start from something else than summary. So yeah, I think that's three arc story structure, trying to clearly communicate what you have done and accomplished in this project, the design changes, and what problem you solved. I think these are the key elements usually I look for when I review stories. But the way how you communicate this can, of course, vary. I can't hear you, Chris, and I'm not so sure about the rest.
Oh shit.
Yeah.
Classic. I'm on mute. Yeah. God. Yeah. Just quickly,
Oh,
Aneta. We're kind of
so
going.
embarrassing.
That's what happens when you're
I'm
live, isn't
sorry.
it? No. I know we said an hour, but there's still so much more questions. Do you have a hard stop, or do you want to continue going? Like, how much more time do you have?
Yeah, I mean, I can spend 10 minutes probably more
Okay, cool.
before
10
the
minutes
next
is 10
meeting.
minutes. Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
Okay, so let me just pick some ones that maybe don't overlap with what you've already said. Is the first view of a portfolio a hiring manager? I was told it's a recruiter who's the first user. So that's who we have to understand their positioning.
Hmm.
So how do you feel about this?
This depends on a company and their recruitment process structure. There can be both. This can be a HR recruiter, it can be a hiring manager. Really depends. If this is a bigger organization, I guess it would be probably a recruiter. I've heard some stories from hiring manager who, like, because of the size of the company and the a number of applications, they created some sort of a scorecard or a checklist for an HR person to review, like, because they usually, when it's like the first scanning, it's like, I don't know, resume and like checking if you have those fundamental things in your portfolio. before it goes to the hiring manager. But it can be also done by a hiring manager. I've done reviewing portfolios in the phase stage a few times, and I know that it happens, for instance, for smaller organizations, less mature, or maybe in some specific situations. So you need to be prepared for both. I'm guessing that you maybe are asking about this because you assume that recruiter is not a designer, and hiring manager probably is a design manager, so the understanding of everything can be different. I understand the concern, so I think you need to be prepared for both. And if you avoid jargon and like trying to throw some buzzwords in your portfolio, you should be fine. You need to tell a story in a clear way so that me, Chris, recruiter, or anyone will understand this. So yeah.
Perfect. And one that we get all the time when we talk about portfolios is, how do you present projects that you signed an NDA on?
This is a very broad topic. I have a whole guide about this. Anyway, it all depends on your NDA. I'm not a lawyer. I don't know about you, Chris. So just saying that this is also from my own experience and perspective. But I think I would start from, first of all, reading my NDA, because they can be different. Some are more strict, for instance, governmental projects or something like this. Some are less strict. So you need to figure this out fast. If you don't understand your NDA, I don't know, research the chat with ChatGPT or whatever, or consult with a lawyer. So that's the first thing. Secondly, you can also negotiate, like even before signing on the job and also after. I wouldn't be so afraid to ask, because in the worst case scenario, they will say no, right? But it's better to ask and explain why you need it, because you need to show your work. And I think right now in this competitive market, it's very difficult for anyone to go through the process without this portfolio. So don't be afraid to ask about this. And if you already know what are your constraints when it comes to the NDA, there are different ways of dealing with this. I think the most popular one is the password protection, that I am not a fan of. The password protection, I think it's the laziest and easiest way of dealing with this stuff. I don't need to overthink. I will just put a password protection. The problem is that if you optimize for this time to value, for even entering and finding the password, you need the time. So I would rather try to avoid this method, and maybe even consider a PDF or a live, I don't know, presentation that you can turn off later, like the access, if you are very scared of getting this published somewhere, although I don't think someone would do it. But you need to think about this process and the user. Sometimes people rebrand the project, sometimes they generalize the story. If you generalize the story, I think the key part is to just inform that you did the project, you have done a project under NDA, which majority, actually, from my analysis, they don't do it. And I think this is a very silly mistake, because if you inform person this is under NDA, there will be put into the context. Okay, this is why this story is more general, maybe, you know what I mean. And also think about where you are in your career, like what is your chance to get this interview, because the less credibility you have, and the less experience, the more difficult it will be for you to pass with a generalized story in your NDA project, from what I've heard and I've seen as well. So you need to kind of filter this as well. There are other methods, of course. We could discuss this forever, but I think these are the main ones that I wanted to highlight.
Yeah. Okay. Let's just finish on this question. There's so many others, but we
Yeah.
just can't get to everybody at the moment. But let's finish on this one. I think this probably will knock a lot of those questions off, which is, what is the most common mistake you see in a portfolio?
Oh, I love this question. I could talk about this forever. The most important mistake, the most common. I think lack of story. I think this statement that people actually repeat online, it has a lot of truth in it. And maybe the problem is that people don't understand what is storytelling. But basically, I think sharing very generic statements, writing very generally, not going deep into explaining design decisions. I think this is the most common issue. Write together with the visual part that is also lacking a lot of times, like the first impression, the visual representation. Yeah, I think these are the two most common mistakes I've been seeing. People not knowing how to sell themselves in this, using stories, and how to show that what they did in the project.
Yeah, so they're just basically following the define or empathize,
Yeah,
define, ideate like that, and then it's just
yeah.
yeah. Okay, got it.
Yeah, and the descriptions are very general. Like I could take the description and put into my own portfolio, or probably yours or anyone here, and it would fit. People say, like a theory from a UX book, kind of this type of vibe. So we want to avoid this. I think we are doing a great job, because I'm seeing more and more portfolios getting more like being more based on stories. But I know that this is also a skill to practice. So also don't put a pressure on yourself if you feel like your story is not there yet. I mean, you will not nail it at first. It just requires some writing, iterations, learning how to write, how to tell the story. So it's also a process.
Yeah, and I think just lastly, touching on the visual representation sort of mistake or first impression mistake, one of the ones that I see a lot is when folks just use the H1 or the hero title in their portfolio and they go, "Hi, I'm Chris," and it's like
Ah, yeah, this one.
complete waste of space. And like, no, you want to get into it. Time to value. Saying
Yes.
hi in your name is usually not the best way. Um, so I would prefer you look at it like any other website that you go online on the internet. If your portfolio is a website, even in your PDF, I think the introduction can be a bit better. Is that you say, okay, well, what's the difference between Framer, Squarespace, and Webflow? Let's go into all of those landing pages and just read their headline, and it's completely different. They do the same
Mm,
goddamn thing, but they position themselves and they sell themselves differently. You can do that with almost any other product, like project management tools, chat
yeah.
apps for work, whatever it is. If you just go into 3 homepages, you'll see how they do it and have that sort of in the back of your mind. How do I stand out from the Chris number 2, who's another designer, right?
Yeah, we all love your names. I mean, I love mine, for instance. This is one of the few things I like, but no one cares. I mean,
Yeah,
you are probably you have already introduced yourself in a resume, in an application, so there is no need to repeat yourself. I have actually one more comment about the mistakes for the project stories. Um, I think another common mistake, which is quite common as well, is when people actually don't tell a story about them and their contribution, but they tell a story. They are even they are not using maybe very generic statement, but they are selling a product or a feature, or maybe they are talking about the whole team and everything what's happened in this project, and then I get lost. So I think this is maybe also a very common one. Expect this: hi, my name is the double diamond stories. This is also a big one, because you are not selling the product, you are not selling the feature or company or whatever. You are selling yourself and your skills and your profile. You want to show us that you can do the job and design beautiful, awesome, usable uh, products.
exactly. Okay, so let's just stop with the questions because there's so much more. But
Yes,
you have our LinkedIn, so go follow Aneta,
reach
go follow you.
out.
Yeah,
I reply
exactly.
to all messages.
There you go. There you go.
Yes.
So before we let you go ahead and share your course with the audience, because I think you deserve it and I think they need it. I think that's the fundamental
uh,
thing. So
yeah, you can see it here.
let me throw it up on the screen and I'll
Ah.
hide. Give us a quick elevator pitch, if you will. Is that okay?
Yes, I am super excited. The course was launched 1 month ago. We have a huge group of people already in the course. The course is self-paced, but will teach you and walk you through the whole process of creating your portfolio, from setting up your mindset, learning about the users. I did research on this, so we will get insights and about competitors as well, to defining your profile, planning your portfolio, writing stories, creating those visual storytelling part, and launching your portfolio with I think 14 guides on some constraints that majority of us have, like NDAs, conceptual projects, lack of research, and so on. And of course, you will get access also to a community where I answer questions and I'm there for you. So yeah, there is a lifetime access, so you can join us there.
All right, so guys, scan that QR code that I've got on the screen if you're interested in probably the most thorough portfolio course on the internet that I've seen
Guys,
for
I
a long
spent
time.
so many hours on this.
Yeah, we're not joking when we're saying that Aneta spent almost a year on this. It's like, it's true. It's true. She's probably got images and documents to prove, like, timestamps.
Yeah,
So
that's
if
true.
you're struggling with your portfolio, then this is a good answer for you. Just check it out. And also, if you have any questions, of course, reach out to Aneta so
Yeah.
she can answer those, things that you're worried and concerned about. So,
Yeah.
Aneta, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for
Um,
inviting me and asking those great questions.
yeah, all good. And you are the only guest that's come on twice, so that's awesome. Right?
Oh, I feel humbled. Thank you so
Yeah.
much.
Okay. So feel free to drop off unless you want a debrief, but not needed because you've been on before. But I'm just going to close up here. But feel free to drop off, and thank you again so much.
Thank you.
Any other way that the audience can get in contact with you and find you?
Yes, LinkedIn, Aneta with the Polish surname I will not pronounce. You can also reach out on Instagram, ux.aneta. And yeah, you also have my email on the portfolio website course, I think. So yeah, feel free to reach out if you want to chat, say hi, ask questions. I wasn't lying with this that I am replying to all DMs. I really do. So don't be afraid to reach out.
There you go, guys. uxportfolio.co. Go check out Aneta's work on helping you guys build a better portfolio. All right, Aneta, we will see you later. And let me just wrap up here. Thank you again.
Bye.
Bye. All right, guys. So let me quickly wrap up and tell you about our next live podcast, which is March the 26th, which is actually next week. Usually we do these twice a month, but this month this period, we have 6 in a row. So that's really fun for me. And hopefully we can extract a lot of the juice from the brains of designers. The next one is actually with Ryan Scott, Airbnb, ex DoorDash, ex Palantir. So Ryan is a design leader and he is just dripping with knowledge. He's done a bunch of courses on Maven, but I actually want to help you guys and myself describe the ROI of design better. So, how do we talk about our work in a way that is interesting and even valuable to stakeholders, right? The ROI of design. How do you do it? Everybody kind of does it differently, but Ryan, has taught a course on this, and he's been doing this for a very long time. So I'm really excited to speak to him. So if you kind of want to get notified, then I would say scan this. Anything else I have on the list? I think that's it. You know where to find me. LinkedIn. I'm also growing my YouTube, so just search this on YouTube or search my name on YouTube, and you would find me. Apart from that, I am signing off. Until next time, bye. This is the design of everyday people.
It sound right, boy.
This is the design of everyday people.
It sound right, boy.